This virtual Meet the Teacher night for Physical Science 10. My name is Mr. Chelman, Scott Chelman, and I will be teaching your sons and daughters this year. First thing that I want people to understand about the physical science class is that this is a different class than they've taken in the past for science. They will be doing a lot more problem solving and thinking through situations and analysis rather than just taking in information. So it will be an adjustment for a lot of them. And there's a lot of room for growth there typically, which means that it's a lot of times a challenge and they do have to work through it. But I think that usually the ones who work hard and are dedicated to the class will get better as the year goes on. So one of the big differences, by the way, between this class and the Physical Science 10 and the Physical Science 1 is that for Physical Science 10, they will get a lot more support with the mathematical side of the class. For instance, with the algebra especially, because what I've found in the past is that typically when they take Physical Science 10 instead of Physical Science 1, that's where their deficit lies. That's where their deficits lie, is in the mathematical side of it. So what I have here is the basic outline of the topics that we're going to hit for the year. A lot of this obviously depends upon how things go and if we go back into going remote and all that stuff again. But if all goes well, we're going to hit all of these topics. And speaking of going remote, if you're watching this video, then you're on to the YouTube channel where I will be posting the recordings of classes for those students who are out. And hopefully it doesn't happen, but if any of them have to be quarantined, etc., this is where they can see the classes that we do, and I'll just do the screen capture and do that, or I guess it would be screencasting, and go through the class just as the other students are getting it, and then they can watch it at their leisure. And then I'll decide in the future if we need to have them go live or not. But a couple things that they need to know about the class, and that you need to know, would be helpful to understand. Firstly, is that a lot of times students will get stressed out about, because these topics are new and it's a different sort of class, is how well they're going to do in a class. And the tests and quizzes sometimes can be a bit of a problem, a bit of a challenge for some of them. So what I do is I will, as you see here, I tend to put an emphasis on stuff that they can do with effort. And that includes things like doing lab write-ups and doing homework. If they do that, then you can see that that's worth about 40% of the points. So what that means is they can, even if they struggle on a lot of tests, as long as they do all their work and they're consistent on that, then they're going to be fine in the class. Mathematically, you can see they can do fairly poorly on a lot of the tests and still end up in a C or even B range. So the effort is what is really, really important, and they need to keep that in mind as they go throughout the year. The other thing that I wanted to make sure that you understand is that the homework assignments are all in the homework tab, and you can kind of see off here, for instance, this is Addie's, but whatever. The homework is in this tab, and if it's not in this tab, then it's not homework. So whenever a kid has questions on whether or not they have homework, what I tell them is, well, did you look in your homework tab? And if you look in your homework tab, the assignments are right there. And you'll also notice that they are listed by the due date. So that answers the second question, is when it's due. Well, whatever the date is on there, that's when it's due. And I try to be really, really consistent with that. The only time when I don't put it as a due date sometimes is if we have a lab. But even then, sometimes I'll put it as due date. It depends upon if there's other homework that goes along with it. We'll almost always have homework for the class, So they just have to get used to that schedule and get used to that routine, which is really one of the things that I want them to do, is to understand that when they take a science class, that's what's really important, is to have that consistent work ethic and do a little bit of work all the time rather than saving it up and doing it all at the end. Um, Other than that, I think a lot of these things are sort of self-explanatory. We do have problems of the day, and what I try to do with the problems of the day is to have different problems that they can do that will help them for any test or quiz that's coming up. So a lot of the test and quiz questions will be fairly similar to things that I will ask on the problems of the day. So if they can keep up with the problems of the day, and that's not something I'm going to grade, by the way, but if they keep up, then they can look back at this and they can see this as kind of a study guide that we make up as we go along. And that way, again, the idea is when there's a test, that they're not cramming for it, that they've done the work all the way up to the end, and it's just a matter of fine tuning the skills, and then they can go perform on the test. All right. Other than that, I think that's all that I have for this. So if you have any questions, please you can get my email off the directory. Contact me that way, and I'll be happy to answer anything that you all have. I look forward to hearing from all of you, and also look forward to having a good year. Uh, Again, thanks for tuning in, and take care. Bye bye.